A country without women on the streets. Since August 2021, when the Taliban regained power in Afghanistan, nearly half of the country's population, women, have effectively disappeared from public life. According to official UN data, more than 1.1 million Afghan girls have been deprived of the right to education. Schools for them are closed after the 6th grade. Universities are closed as well. All government institutions are required to have separate entrances, queues, and even service hours for men and women. In practice, this means that a woman cannot leave her home without a mahram, a male relative. Violating the rule is punished publicly by the religious police. Detention, beatings, humiliation. In Kabul and Herat, there are separate buses for women, but they make up less than 10% of public transport. As a result, most women simply cannot move around. Hospitals are only a partial exception. Separate wards have been created for women, but after the 2021 takeover, more than 30,000 female medical workers have left the country. This has led to a sharp rise in maternal mortality, 638 deaths per 100,000 births, one of the highest rates in the world, according to the WHO. At the same time, the Taliban government introduced special Women's Days in parks and markets, specific hours when men are forbidden to enter. This is not freedom, but control disguised as care. Under threat of punishment, women must wear the burqa, covering their faces completely. The UN and human rights organizations call today's Afghanistan a gender apartheid, a system that has legally erased women from society. And now the question is not only about their rights, but about their very presence in the life of the nation. What do you think? Can a nation survive if half of its citizens are forbidden even to step outside? In the mountainous regions of Central Asia, from northern Afghanistan to the Kyrgyz steppes, a wedding can still begin with a battle. In some tribes, a groom is not recognized as a man until he proves his strength in buzkashi, a traditional game where horsemen fight over a goat carcass as if it were a war trophy. According to the International Federation for Equestrian Sports, more than 700 such competitions are held annually in the region. Victory depends not only on agility, but also on the ability to endure dozens of whip strikes and collisions at speeds of up to 60 kilometers per hour. Another ritual is al-Kal, or conquer the bride. A man must kidnap the girl or defeat his rivals in hand-to-hand combat. In some villages of Paktia and Badakhshan, this test of honor is enshrined in customary law. A marriage is not recognized without proof of bravery. If the groom fails, the family may refuse the union even after a dowry agreement has been reached. These weddings are expensive. On average, 6,000 to 10,000 USD, equivalent to several years of a farmer's income. Families often go into debt or sell livestock. In case of injury or death during the competitions, there is no compensation. Everything is considered the will of Allah. According to Afghanistan's Ministry of Interior Affairs, in 2023 alone, at least 40 people were killed and over 200 injured at such events. In the 21st century, when much of the world strives for gender equality and safety, here manhood is still measured in blood and love, by the ability to survive in a game that resembles war. Educated women who fight. After schools and universities for girls were closed in 2022, a new form of resistance emerged in Afghanistan: underground education. In Kabul, Herat, and Mazar-e Sharif, female teachers have turned their own homes into home universities. According to UNESCO, there are now more than 200 such initiatives, all operating illegally. Students come disguised as guests or relatives, and lessons last 2 to 3 hours a day. The programs cover the basics of medicine, IT, mathematics, and English. Teachers use offline materials, flash drives, and VPN connections to bypass Taliban censorship. According to human rights groups, at least 15,000 girls study in these secret schools. But the risk is enormous. In 2023, more than 50 female teachers were arrested for undermining Islamic values. Despite the bans, even in provinces where patrols monitor every street, secret classes appear, often in basements or behind curtains in shops. Funding comes through international organizations under the guise of humanitarian aid. It is an education without diplomas, but with a single purpose: not to lose the ability to think. The paradox is that most of these teachers hold degrees earned in state universities before 2021. Now they teach forbidden subjects under threat of execution. The world remains silent, while these women build their own system of knowledge, without buildings, without a state, without legal protection. And the main question is, if education has become a crime, then who is the real criminal? The teacher who teaches, or the power that fears educated women? A diet of meat and tea. Afghan cuisine is not about luxury, it is about survival. The diet mainly consists of lamb, rice, lentils, and naan bread baked in clay tandoor ovens. According to the World Food Programme, WFP, more than 90% of the population eats meat no more than once a week, yet lamb remains a symbol of prosperity. A kilogram costs about 500 Afghanis, roughly a day's wage for most families. In the provinces of Nangarhar and Kandahar, even wedding feasts are limited to pilaf and a single meat dish. Rice is a strategic commodity. Afghanistan imports over 600,000 tons annually, mostly from Pakistan, making it dependent on price fluctuations. Any border closure immediately causes shortages. Vegetables and fruits are grown domestically, but due to the lack of cold storage, up to 40% of the harvest spoils before reaching the market. The main drink is green tea with cardamom or cloves. It is consumed almost constantly, an average of 10 to 15 cups per day. This is not just a habit, but a way to replace calories. Local nutritionists estimate that in winter months, up to 20% of daily liquid intake comes from tea rather than water. In poor areas, people often add salt instead of sugar to compensate for the loss of electrolytes. In recent years, the very culture of eating has changed. Due to rising food prices, 70% of families have reduced their meals to twice a day. Children suffer most from the protein deficit. According to UNICEF, more than 40% of children under 5 are chronically malnourished. The irony is that a country with millions of hectares of fertile valleys still cannot feed its own population. The only question is this a lack of resources or the result of a policy that finds it convenient for people to live on tea and hope? Nightlife without light. After sunset, Afghanistan turns into a country of shadows. According to World Bank data, only about 43% of the population has stable access to electricity, and in rural areas, less than 25%. The rest live in darkness, relying on candles, generators, or car batteries smuggled from Iran or Pakistan. Peak network capacity barely reaches 700 megawatts, the level of a small European city, while the country needs 3 times more. The main power supply lines come from neighboring states, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Iran. If even one of them halts exports, an entire province can go dark. In Kandahar, for instance, the average duration of blackouts reaches 16 hours a day. In villages, electricity has been absent for years, wires have long been stolen, and diesel fuel for generators costs more than a day's wage for a laborer. Meanwhile, Kabul's major hotels glow with neon lights. They have their own generators, and fuel is delivered directly from government depots. In these oases, underground restaurants operate behind closed windows, where forbidden music quietly plays under Taliban rule. One evening in such a place costs as much as a rural family spends in a month. The contrast is stark. 38 million people live without light, yet electricity exists for the privileged few. The problem is not technical, but political. Darkness here is not an accident. It is a tool of control. When the country falls asleep in darkness, who benefits from the fact that the people cannot see what is happening around them? Functional chaos on wheels. Afghan roads are a constant experiment in survival. According to the World Bank, only 13% of the country's roads are paved. The rest are gravel or dusty tracks eroded by rain. Traffic lights are almost non-existent. Kabul has fewer than 20 in the entire city. Yet traffic never stops. Transportation operates by its own code of signals. A short honk means turning right. 2 quick honks mean careful, and a long one is an order to stop. It's a system that replaces traffic rules and even the police. Despite the chaos, the transport economy works. Every day, Afghans make over 5 million trips, from motorcycles to trucks carrying vegetables and coal. There is no real public transport. It has been replaced by private minibuses and the kings of the road, old 1980s Toyotas that carry 3 times more passengers than allowed. According to the Asian Development Bank, private carriers handle about 90% of all transport in the country. The price of error is high. Every year, more than 4,000 people die on Afghan roads, and tens of thousands are injured. The main causes are worn-out vehicles, lack of regulations, and driver fatigue. But no one can afford to stop. Movement means income, standing still means hunger. The paradox is that this anarchic system, built without laws, works more efficiently than many of the country's formal institutions. There are no traffic lights, yet there is discipline, born of fear and experience. And the question is simple. If chaos can function on its own, do we really need an order that achieves nothing? Festivals of horsemen. Buzkashi is not just a sport, it is a social institution that shapes notions of honor, power, and status in Afghanistan. This game, a struggle among horsemen for a goat carcass, was declared the national sport in 1946, though its roots go back to the nomadic tribes of the 13th century. Today, competitions are held across all northern provinces, Balkh, Baghlan, Samangan. Each event gathers between 500 and 1,000 participants and thousands of spectators, with prize funds reaching up to $100,000, financed by local businessmen and political clans. The mechanics are simple yet brutal. Riders, known as chakdos, compete to lift a 50-kilogram carcass and carry it to a goal circle. There are no rules or referees, only strength, agility, and strategy. Horses are valued more highly than cars. A battle stallion can cost up to $30,000. Each match lasts several hours, and injuries are an inevitable part of the game. According to local doctors, during the season, injury rates among participants reach 60%, and fatal cases are not uncommon. After the Taliban's return to power in 2021, Buzkashi was initially banned as an un-Islamic spectacle, but under pressure from local elites the game returned, now under official supervision. Alcohol and betting are prohibited at official tournaments, yet politicians use the events to display their generosity and authority. The winner gains not only money but also social capital. In some regions, it's a direct path into local councils. Buzkashi is the symbol of a country where struggle never ends. It is a game that has become a metaphor for the state itself. Everyone drags their own carcass toward the goal, and the winner is the one who holds on the longest. And here lies the question for all of us. Can a society accustomed to constant conflict ever learn to play by common rules? The Kuchi tribes are the remnants of a nomadic civilization that once controlled trade routes between Arabia, Egypt, and Persia. Their camel-skin tents stand amid the deserts of Najd and the Rub al-Khali, where temperatures reach 50 degrees Celsius and rain may not fall for years. According to ethnographers, about 200,000 to 300,000 Bedouins in Saudi Arabia still lead a semi-nomadic lifestyle today, less than 1% of the country's population. Their caravans of sheep and camels move along ancient routes laid long before Islam. The daily life of these people has changed little. In tents without electricity, they brew coffee with cardamom, dry cheese in the sun, sleep on wool rugs, and tell time by the stars. Water is the desert's main currency. Each herd needs up to 100 liters a day, and wells are divided according to traditional clan agreements. Education, medicine, and even mobile communication reach them only through state programs like Vision 2030, which aim to settle Bedouins in specially built communities with benefits, schools, and veterinary centers. Yet many refuse. For them, nomadism is not an occupation, but an identity. The paradox is that, next to mega projects such as the giant city Neom, where artificial intelligence and underground trains are being implemented, there still exist clans without documents, moving with the seasons as they did thousands of years ago. There is no internet in the desert, but there is its own system of signals, hospitality, and honor, one that no one has abolished. In the 21st century, oil has made the country one of the richest in the world, yet these tribes still live within boundaries set by nature, not technology. They are a mirror of the past amid the future, proof that progress does not erase tradition, but merely confronts it with a choice: to disappear or to adapt. And here is the question: if the world moves toward a digital future, do those who have chosen the eternal desert have the right to remain in their own time?